Oke, hello, welcome back di Ngobrol bareng Indri, masih di sesi Amsterdam. Kali ini kita kedatangan tamu yang istimewa. Namanya Adira atau panggilan cantiknya adalah Dear.
Iya.
Nah, yang baru saja lulus dari SMA di UWC, United World College di Norwegia setelah 2 tahun IB di grade 11 dan 12. Baru saja kemarin, fresh from the oven, Adira mendapatkan konfirmasi untuk full scholarship dari University College London untuk program communications di undergraduate programs ya.
Yes.
Nah, so jadi SMA scholarship, university scholarship, that is something that aku merasa banyak banget yang bermimpi untuk bisa mendapatkan atau bisa seperti Adira. Oke, Dira atau Dear, terima kasih sudah datang
Thank
di
you
Ngobrol
for
bareng
having
Indri.
me.
Sebelum mulai, kita cheers dulu yuk.
Ayo.
Oke, cheers. Nah, kita mesti kenalan lebih baik dong. Dira, boleh ceritain about yourself
Oke.
dan where are you from? Pasti
Iya.
teman-teman di Indonesia pengen tahu nih siapa sih Adira and Dear sebelumnya dan saat ini. Boleh?
So, my name is Adira. Kalau boleh, aku ngobrolnya bahasa Inggris dicampur
Boleh.
sama bahasa
Mix.
Indonesia. I grew up in Jakarta, and aku dari kelas 1, I attended Mentari Intercultural School Jakarta, and I studied in English since first grade. So, jadi bahasanya pasti agak tercampur. But dari kelas 1 sampai kelas 11 aku sekolah di Mentari MISC. Terus habis itu aku aplikasi lewat Panitia Nasional UWC Indonesia untuk masuk ke boarding school United World College. Jadi United World College itu a system of or network of 18 different boarding schools around the world, and the National Committee, Panitia Nasionalnya memilih aku untuk dinominasi ke sekolah yang di Norwegia. I was born and raised in Jakarta, a big city, and then I got, sent to this random Norwegian village, but it ended up being one of the best things that I've ever done. Aku suka baca buku, nonton film, and I'd like to say I'm a humanities kid. I really enjoyed studying economics and global politics and English. That was the subjects that I took in the IB for my higher levels. And I'd like to say that I'm a lifelong learner. My dream is to just travel around the world, get as many experiences as I can, while also looking for the easiest way economically for me. But yes.
Boleh cerita dikit, the family, do you have sibling?
I'm an only child. I live with my mom in Jakarta. My dad lives in Bandung. I grew up pretty much as an only child, very independent, very
jarang banget ya, anak tunggal tapi independen itu jarang sekali loh.
Iya.
Jadi teman-teman walaupun tunggal belum tentu tidak bisa independen. Ini ada satu contohnya nih.
Very independent and always really into my studies. I think pas SMP itu aku mulai fokus banget dengan belajar, soalnya aku punya cita-cita untuk bersekolah di luar negeri. Nah itu bisa mahal banget ya, jadi cari beasiswa itu sesuatu yang very important for me. Also just because of the women in my family, my grandma and my mom are very, very strong, independent women, and I think I was inspired by that growing up. And I always had an amazing example of what working women are like. So I think my family has really shaped me in that sense when it comes to my ambitions and how I want to be as a person.
Good, thank you dear. Boleh dong, aku kepo nih ya untuk bertanya. Tapi pertama kali dulu aku mau congratulations for your graduation
Thank you.
Di UWC Norway.
Yeah.
Baru aja bulan lalu ya itu.
Iya. It was
2000.
two weeks ago malahan, baru 2 minggu yang lalu.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oke, congratulations ya. Nah, boleh dong sedikit cerita, sedikit aja. Kok tahu kalau UWC itu punya program atau punya offer program seperti itu? gave you the information?
So my best friend Alexis applied directly to UWC in Japan saat kelas 10.
Itu
Terus
temen waktu di Mentari?
iya, teman
Oke.
sahabat aku, my lifelong best friend Alexis, I love you. And she introduced me to UWC. And then my other best friend Jola, she applied directly to UWC Atlantic in Wales, the UK.
Did they get?
They both got in, yes.
Okay.
And so I was really, they were the ones who told me about the program.
Mm.
But I needed a scholarship, and to get a scholarship to go to UWC,
Mm-mm.
it would either be like
Mm-mm.
some schools have it, or you have to go through the national committee. And so I applied through the national committee to go to UWC.
Tapi itu kan pasti susah ya. Nah, boleh nggak kasih bocoran sedikit? How can you make that happen? I mean, apa yang menonjol dari seorang Dear sehingga menjadi atau mendapatkan perhatian atau mendapatkan those ticket
Iya, iya.
for the full scholarship?
Jadi buat scholarship kayak gitu sih pasti ada selection process ya. Tapi menurut aku sih every time someone asks me for advice when it comes to these kinds of things, I always tell them that you just have to be an authentic person. I think these days with like digitalization, media segala-gala, it's a lot of people are fake and like will do something because of like for other reasons, I'd like to say. And I've always been a people person. I really like socializing with people, and I think that made me stand out because it was I think I was able to kind of show my authentic self in a very persuasive way and also convincing way. And I really do believe in the UWC movement, and karena banyak orang like cari beasiswa itu untuk other reasons, but I also applied to UWC because I really like resonated with the mission that to unite cultures for peace and stuff like that. So I think having pure intentions and being a people person as well helped me a lot.
Boleh tahu, jadi objektif kamu yang kamu tulis di proposal kami itu apa yang membuat they thought it's an authentic?
So I think to be honest, like a lot of people apply thinking that they have to have a specific occupation yang mereka mau nurusin, kayak pekerjaan yang mereka udah ada in mind, and that's how they would contribute to society towards this mission. But for me, I've always had I've always had a love for storytelling in almost every sense of the word, and I think that like I talked a lot about it, about how stories are usually the ways that people are able to bridge gaps between one another, especially in a society yang lebih interkultural ya. Jadi I think that's definitely something that I emphasize in my application for this scholarship, but also it's like the scholarships are needs-based, jadi it's not only merit. Obviously they look at like your achievements and stuff like that, but they also look at whether you need the scholarship or not, and whether you can contribute something back to the community that is giving something to you.
Okay, so cool. Dear, boleh nggak tahu ya, kan 2 tahun di Norway, never been living in abroad, yeah. So this is the first time
Yeah.
living in the boarding school.
Yeah.
How many countries or how
Yeah.
many students in that boarding school around?
It was around 200 students for year 1 and 2 combined, and about 100, around 100 nationalities in that
Wow,
school. Yeah.
so that must be really amazing. How do you able to adapt? How did you able to adapt into that kind of situations? How did you build your resilience without having parents besides you, and your perseverance? You just very young at that time.
Yeah.
How old were you when you just started?
I just turned 17 when I moved.
17, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still very young. Gimana tuh caranya membangun ketahanan dan keuletan untuk bisa sampai bergaul dengan 100 nationality, around 200 students more, and still getting the best score. I mean, it's one of the best score in your school. How that can happen?
Um,
Maybe something you can share?
I think when it comes, well, answering the nationality, like in a very diverse community part, I think that I don't really see people as their nationalities, more as just individuals. And that's why I got along with a lot of different people from different places. Like, I never saw it like, oh, you're from this country, so it's going to be hard for us to get along. Not at all. Because,
Tapi kenapa? Kenapa bisa begitu?
yeah, I think,
Apa yang membuat seorang Adira itu merasa bahwa
yeah,
different countries doesn't really
yeah.
tidak membuat hambatan itu kenapa?
I think for me, it was also because I was exposed to a very international media landscape. So I was very exposed to different sources of media and stuff like that. And that's why I'm also taking
Di
communications.
mana itu? Di
And
mana?
on social media, just on social media, terus on the news, and also karena aku kan Gen Z, I grew up on social media basically, and you know I was really exposed to content from different parts of the world, and I think that's when it kind of solidified to me that people, it doesn't really matter their nationalities to me. It really is just like them as a person. And as I said before juga, aku people person banget ya. Jadi I really just treat people the same regardless. I kind of just act the same towards people because I find it unnecessary to be a different person with different people. I just act as me. And I think that authenticity, I guess that might be the reason why I was able to befriend so many people, at least in my eyes. But I when it comes to the perseverance thing, it's like it's definitely something that was very new, very foreign, yeah. Tapi aku sebagai lifelong learner, I really like readapting. I really like going into something new. I'm a person who needs a lot of change, I think, because I know it's what really makes me grow. I think when you get too comfortable, you don't really grow as much, especially at this age. So when I went there, it was definitely something foreign. I mean, the nearest grocery store itu beneran kayak 30 menit dari kampus, jadi kita beneran isolated banget, beda banget ya sama Jakarta. And not having my parents and my family and my friends there were also definitely a new change. But I was always surrounded by people who were experiencing the same thing as me. So I think in that sense, we had a solidarity and we had each other and we bonded so much and became family in a sense when during our time at RCN, and I think even now that we've left. So I think it's a combination of just me as a person who really loves socializing and having this intercultural mindset from the beginning, but also the people that surrounded me in that community, which I was very grateful for.
So dia 2 tahun di Norway di boarding school bersama dengan lebih dari 100 pelajar dari berbagai negara. Pasti sangat challenging ya, dan kompetisinya pasti sangat tough gitu. Ada nggak sih momen yang paling sulit yang pernah kamu alamin, dan bagaimana kamu bisa menguasai diri sendiri untuk bisa bangkit dari hal-hal yang atau saat-saat sulit itu?
Ya, kalau menurut aku sih momen tersusah itu mungkin internal ya, kayak the constant internal battle I think with being in a very academically competitive environment. Karena as I explained earlier, like to go into UWC, you have to go through a selection process. So the people who actually get into the school are very, very intelligent and determined.
Good,
and
they're all good.
very amazing people, and not only in theory, but it's really true. Like during my time there, I was surrounded by the most intelligent people that I've ever met in my life, and I think that the hardest part was definitely kind of understanding that everybody is amazing in their own way. Walaupun cliche, ya, it really is true. And I think that when I was in Mentari, it was also the same. I think I wasn't the best student, to be honest. I wasn't getting like perfect grades on everything, but they were like my friends, so it was much more easier and much less since we grew up together, it was less pressure around me and more just like, okay, I just have to do my best. But when you go into an environment where everybody is just incredibly amazing, you become gimana ya, agak kebawa gitu loh, kebawa ambisinya, kebawa almost in every sense the desire to work and like to do something. So I think at some point the hardest thing was understanding that, you know, my best isn't perfect. Because sebagai perfectionist, I had to come to terms with the fact that not everything I do will be perfect. And that made my time in UWC a lot easier. Just understanding that I can always work harder to be the best version of myself, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be flawless. I think that was definitely something that was difficult to understand, especially dalam tahun kedua ya, awal tahun kedua itu pas semuanya harus, it was like all the work was due di awal tahun semester pertama tahun kedua, and then what else? And then juga masuk juga mulai masukin aplikasi buat ke universitas ya. So that was definitely a very stressful moment where I felt like I couldn't multitask everything. And then aku tuh lihat di my surroundings tuh kayak, oh my god, everybody's doing it. Like everybody is getting perfect grades and also submitting to their university applications. Tapi aku masih agak bingung gitu loh. Jadi I knew that the best that I could do was focus on my grades first, and then I separate that with doing my university applications over the winter break or over liburan Natal lah, habis selesai semester itu. And I think that strategy worked out for me, and I guess it succeeded in order to, you know, perform the best that I could, which isn't perfect, but it was definitely the best that I could have done at that time.
Jadi sacrificing your holiday
yeah.
di akhir tahun untuk mengerjakan hal-hal yang belum sempat kamu kerjakan, yaitu applications di university itu.
Benar.
Saya tertarik banget kata-kata kamu tadi, Dira, ngomongin tentang, you know, even if this is not perfect, but that's the best that I can do, and I can always make it better next time. Itu penting banget ya, supaya kita nggak stres gitu ya dengan apapun yang kita dapatkan gitu. There always be, I mean, there never been anything perfect gitu. Boleh nggak, dari mana itu filosofi itu bisa come up, Dira?
I think definitely on a real note, the moment I realized that, there isn't like a specific moment, but I just remember having that feeling of like, so kalau misalnya kita mau submit essay kita ke guru, itu kan dapat draft pertama terus draft terakhir, atau kadang-kadang bisa draft pertama, draft kedua, draft ketiga, baru terakhir. And I remember every time I submitted one of my essays, I felt like, okay, that's great. And then I get the feedback, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait, no, never mind, I could always improve this, and I would fix it up, and then I would submit it again. And so after multiple times of doing that, I think itu aku baru sadar bahwa aku tuh pasti I can always make it better, but that doesn't mean that I did not do good enough already. So I think that those moments during semester pertama tahun kedua itu, aku beneran yang baru ngeh bahwa ini tuh, the goal isn't perfection, the goal is the best work that I could do.
Okay. Thank you, Dira. Ini penting banget ya, teman-teman. Jadi di setiap saat, pada saat kita selesai melakukan sesuatu, kita selalu berharap ini yang perfect. Belum tentu. Karena kalau kita merasa itu perfect dan terus kita dapat feedback untuk koreksi, itu pasti sakit banget kan? Ya, it hurts a lot gitu. Tetapi kalau kita merasa bahwa this is the best for today, but it can be better in the next day after you receive the feedback, that is even, you know, make it lighter ya, akan lebih relax gitu pada saat mendapatkan feedback. Thank you, Dira. That's really a very good. Nah, saya pengen tahu tuh, jadi dengan perjalanan yang sudah 2 tahun berpisah dari orang tua, jauh di Norway. Nah, apa sih yang menurut Dira kunci sukses atau keberhasilan atau kunci keberhasilan Dira selama ini bisa meraih beasiswa pada saat SMA full scholarship dan mendapatkan juga beasiswa untuk undergrad yang akan dijalanin di tahun ini. Itu keren banget, pasti banyak yang pengen. Boleh dong, apa sih kuncinya, Dira?
I think it's a very complicated question, yeah. Mungkin it's very simple, but also the answers can go very far. But I think the key for me was always understanding that there's this very famous quote. It says that, I am the captain of my fate, I think understanding that whatever happens in my life and what I want to achieve is in fact in my hands. Sometimes it isn't. Of course, ada factor, yeah, God and the universe and everything like that. But I also think that understanding that I do have what it takes to do what I want and dream. The fact that I'm able to dream that big, I think, is also something that signifies to me that I can reach it. Is definitely something that I have that has helped me a lot in having that key to really getting there, because having that belief that I am capable of doing the great things that I dream of is what has driven me so far. And also, I think dalam dasarnya itu beneran confidence. I think cliche banget ya, and you don't really understand it until you experience it. But I think a lot of people can say a lot of different things about me, and I think I'm a lot of different things. But I think the one thing that I am is confident when it comes to these kinds of things, because time and time again I prove it to myself, not for anyone else. And I think once you get out of that mindset that, like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to show people that I can do this, is the best thing that you can do. When you tell yourself that this is just for you and this is because of your work, that kind of thing breaks you free from all the limitations that comes from, worrying about what people think about you. Jadi menurut aku sih self confidence dan faith overall, honestly, just faith in yourself. And
Aku agak kepo nih,
Yeah.
Dira. Jadi Dira itu sehari-harinya belajar terus atau gimana sih?
uh,
Boleh dong ya?
yeah.
Untuk bisa dapat
Iya.
grade yang bagus, terus mempertahankan scholarship itu kan
Yeah.
emang tiap harinya kerjaannya belajar terus apa gimana?
Jujurnya, it's
Katanya kalau stres malah belajar ya?
Ya, aku
Gimana tuh ceritanya?
aku emang tipe orang yang kalau stres itu belajar. Tapi kalau stres tapi beda juga sih tante. Soalnya kalau stresnya urutnya itu dari belajar, aku tahu aku harus take a break. Tapi kalau aku stresnya itu dari other factors in my life, I turn to studying. So
Lucu banget sih.
Iya.
Lucu gak? Stres tapi belajar gitu. Kalau aku stres ya maunya tidur apa gimana gitu ya. Ini stres belajar.
Yeah. I felt like gimana ya? I think I didn't really. Okay. Sebenarnya I definitely studied a lot. Like aku nggak bakal sugarcoat sama sekali. It didn't happen because I was like, nah, it's fine. No, I really studied a lot. Apalagi during those moments where it was like before tests and stuff like that. I studied a lot, and I studied as much as I could. But also, towards the end, I felt like I was going through a burnout, and that's really dangerous, especially with a program like the IB, karena it's a long game. It's not like you have this test, you're done. It's like you learn everything over the course of 2 years, and then you get tested at the end of the 2 years. So I knew that I couldn't be burnt out. So
gimana caranya untuk menghindari burnout?
Yeah, the key is for me having amazing friends that support you.
What did you do with friends actually, or what do you do with friends?
It's
that makes it,
yeah.
That lessen your stressed level.
It wasn't really any activity, to be honest. I think being there together and having each other was the best thing that could have relieved my stress, because I understood that I wasn't alone, and I think that's the most important thing to understand, is that you're not alone. I do also keep a good balance, and I also have different priorities. Menurut aku sih, I also have to be able to do things that isn't studying, but also gives me some sort of validation, or not only validation, but also calms me down. And for that, like, I loved cooking. I really liked cooking, and sometimes when I'm like, I can't
Apa yang
study
dimasak?
anymore. Oh,
Bukan
beda-beda
telur
tante.
ceplok sama Indomie kan?
Kadang-kadang telur ceplok sama Indomie sih tante. Kadang-kadang telur ceplok sama Indomie. Tapi I also made like fried chicken, just like really like soul food yang make me happy. Karena masak tuh kan kerja ya, bener kerja keras. Terus at the end you get that reward of like eating the food. And I think that really made me de-stress a lot. And I loved cooking for my friends. And I also really loved seeing like my friends after a long day of like studying and just like, hey, do you want to have some of this food that I made? And they get really happy, and that brings me a lot of joy. And I think that took a lot of the stress away, especially during the most stressful like exam periods. But I also think my surroundings, the people around me, help me uh, just recharge when I need to. Obviously, itu ada like that thing of me where I like sometimes when I'm stressed about other things in my life I study. Apalagi kalau tentang cowok ya tante. Kalau tentang cowok pasti aku langsung larinya ke perpustakaan langsung belajar. Tapi but I think
Jadi kalau stres tentang cowok ke perpustakaan
yes,
gitu.
yes. Stres
Oh my
tentang cowok ke
goodness.
perpustakaan, tapi kalau stres karena
Tentang
kerjaan
atau
lari ke
tentang
cowok.
belajar, ke cowok gitu ya. Apa itu moga-moga selalu ada ya cowok yang bisa dipakai buat lari ya. Oh my god, beruntung banget tuh cowok yang mau apa itu yang didatengin sama Dira ya. Which finally the sacrifices itu ada resultnya ya.
Iya, iya.
Karena kembali lagi seperti yang saya katakan tadi, baru kemarin fresh from the oven keterima di UCL dengan scholarship full. Hanya berapa yang mendapatkan scholarship?
Oh, 2.
Hanya 2 untuk intake tahun ini, and one of them adalah Adira. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Nah, tadi kan di awal Dira pernah cerita ya bahwa one thing that shape you itu adalah contoh-contoh wanita di dalam hidup dia yang juga strong, and that's why it built you to be also a strong woman gitu ya. Nah, boleh nggak tolong dijelasin kenapa Dira itu bisa terinspirasi seperti itu, dan mimpinya apa nih? Mimpinya apa?
Kalau mimpinya itu masih agak a little bit confused. Like, you know, I think I'm still young. I think I'm gonna allow myself to just like figure it out as I go. But I think when it comes to the women in my family, when I was young, I was raised both by my mom and my grandmother, as well as my dad and my stepmom as well. But in the earlier stages of my life, the 2 most prominent women in my life were my mom and my grandmother. And my grandma was a communications professor. So I didn't know what communications meant at that time, tapi aku lihat dia tuh bekerja sebagai dosen, dan dia tuh beneran komitmennya, kerja kerasnya, and her love for her work is really, it was something that stood out to me. I remember I would stay on the same bed as her, and she would be beside me, and she would have like a table in front of her, and she would be writing all night, and I would just be there like this little kid. Like I was maybe 8, or throughout the ages of like the younger ages, I would just be playing on my iPad, and she would just be working so hard. And she was in her 60s by that time.
Boleh tahu namanya siapa?
Dokter
your late grandma?
Yeah, Dr. Arintowati Hartono.
Wow.
So, yes.
Salam hormat ya.
Yeah, salam hormat.
Untuk your late grandma.
Yeah. And my mom juga kayak gitu. I remember when I was a little older, when she started her own film company, I saw how she built everything from the ground up. Really, like, I remember being in the car with her, and she showed me drafts of the logo of her company. And she was just always on telephones, and she would like always be working. And I remember even calling her, and I'm like, hey, where are you? Terus dia bilang, oh, mama lagi di Malaysia. And I was like, kapan berangkat ke Malaysia? Terus, so she was just, they were both like very on the grind and very, very passionate for what they want to do. And I think to connect it with what my dreams are, I think I just want to be as passionate as they were with what I will end up doing. I don't know yet what that will be, because I feel like I still need to be exposed to so many different things. I just know that I want to be as passionate, as driven as the women of my family, and I have a lot to thank for them. So yeah.
Wow, cool. Still a long way to go.
Very long way to
Still
go.
young. Nah, Dira, saya yakin buat teman-teman yang sedang nonton podcast ini ya, pasti banyak sekali yang pengen seperti Dira ya, dapat scholarship baik di SMA maupun di universitas gitu ya. Jadi kira-kira apa yang Dira bisa berikan tips-tips buat teman-teman yang sedang mendengarkan podcast ini apabila mereka menginginkan scholarship, itu kira-kira persiapan atau apa sih yang mesti dilakukan?
Kayaknya I can give this sort of advice in two different phases. Definitely during the phase of like researching, lagi riset untuk cari beasiswa, itu really use the internet. And now that you have AI, like researching for these kinds of things are like much more accessible. Tapi in my particular case, aku dapat beasiswa pertama itu karena word of mouth. So really, the friends that I had and like looking at their experiences, and juga anak mentari itu punya reputasi untuk sering masuk ke UWC kan. Jadi I knew of it, and that was, so I was just very lucky. But I think now with AI and the social media, and also the internet, it's much more easier to look for these scholarships. Nah, yang babak kedua ya, let's just say, when it comes to actually getting the scholarships, I think people need to understand that people don't give scholarships because they just want to give away money. People want to make sure that the money that they're giving away goes towards some sort of goal or some sort of vision. And I think finding a scholarship that aligns with that mission, with a mission that you're also that you also believe in, will definitely up the chances of you getting that scholarship higher. For example, I knew that I was very lucky that the scholarship that I got from my undergraduate in UCL is targeted towards UWC students and UWC values. And UWC students, our values is intercultural understanding towards a peaceful world, sort of. And that was something that was really just instilled in me when I was in school.
And resonates with your own values.
Yeah, and it really does resonate with my values. So I felt like I didn't have to, well, obviously it was very difficult, but I didn't have to fake anything to get the scholarship because it really just aligned with what I wanted and how I wanted to contribute to the world. So I think just researching a lot and understanding the purpose of the scholarship that you're applying for will definitely up the chances of you getting that scholarship.
Thank you. Wow, it's really such an inspiring story coming from Dira ya, untuk sharing personal growth-nya, apa itu challenges, difficulties, harus di boarding school selama 2 tahun, sementara teman-temannya di Indonesia mungkin masih bisa pelukan sama orang tua setiap malam gitu ya. Dan apa itu banyak banget pelajaran yang kita bisa dapatkan hari ini di podcast kali ini, dan benar-benar bagaimana belajar untuk menjadi resilience, untuk membangun perseverance, untuk selalu menjadi atau mendapatkan prestasi atau mendapatkan achievement yang kita inginkan. Jadi teman-teman please stay tune karena masih banyak lagi sharing yang akan kita dapatkan di podcast ini.